All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going on a treasure hunt through American history. But this isn't about gold or pirate ships. It's about a treasure that's hidden all around us, woven into the very fabric of our lives.
So, what is this lost treasure of the feminists? I mean, we're not talking about gold coins or a secret map, right? So, what could possibly be so valuable, yet so easy to miss? Let's dig in. And here's the wild part. The treasure is hidden in plain sight. It is the transformed landscape of American life itself. It's the world we live in now, a world that was fundamentally reshaped by a movement that rewrote the rules for everything. Okay, so to really get the value of this treasure, we have to do a little time travel. We've got to understand the world it replaced. And believe me, it was a world with very different and often totally invisible rules for women. Just try to picture this. A world where the second a woman got married, her legal identity just, poof, vanished. She couldn't own her own property. She couldn't sign a contract. She couldn't even control the money she earned. A single, powerful legal concept made her basically invisible in the eyes of the law. And that legal doctrine had a name: coverture. Yeah, it literally meant a married woman was legally covered by her husband with no real independent existence. This was the baseline, the world before this whole treasure hunt even began. So, how did this search even get started? Well, the first clues started showing up when women began to organize. But here's the interesting twist. They weren't even fighting for their own rights at first. They actually learned how to be activists in other movements, especially the fight to abolish slavery. And believe me, this struggle was a marathon, not a sprint. We're talking about a 72-year-long journey, kicking off in 1848 at a game-changing meeting in Seneca Falls, New York, and finally ending with a victory so big it changed the Constitution itself in 1920. And at that very first convention in Seneca Falls, the organizers did something incredibly bold, audacious even. They took the most sacred American text, the Declaration of Independence, and they just rewrote it. This new document, the Declaration of Sentiments, laid out the entire philosophical blueprint for everything that was to come. But, progress is never that simple, right? After the Civil War, a really painful split happened. The 15th Amendment gave black men the vote, but left women out, and it tore the movement in two. This fight over strategy and what to prioritize would last for decades, and it's a powerful reminder that big movements are rarely, if ever, unified. And this is a really important thing to understand about that big victory with the 19th Amendment. It was huge, for sure, but it wasn't universal. For so many women of color, things like poll taxes and literacy tests meant their fight for the basic right to vote was far from over. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. For decades after women got the vote, the treasure hunt kind of went quiet. It seemed like the work was done. But then, a new clue popped up from a really unexpected place: a book. A book that gave a name to a quiet, deep unhappiness that so many women were feeling. This one phrase, the problem that has no name, it was like a lightning bolt. It came from Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique. And by just giving a name to this vague feeling that millions of women had but couldn't articulate, it gave them a voice. It sparked the second wave of feminism. And that lit the fuse for the movement's central idea, its rallying cry: the personal is political. Now think about that. It was this radical concept that things you thought were just your own private problems, your home life, your health, your relationships, were actually political issues tied to bigger power structures. And that one idea, it fueled an absolute legal revolution. I mean, just look at this list. In a little over a decade, you get laws for equal pay, protection from being fired for being pregnant, the right to get a credit card without your husband's signature. This wasn't just tweaking the rules. This was fundamentally changing the game. But when you have that much change, that fast, you're almost guaranteed to get a backlash. And that backlash led straight to the movement's single biggest legislative defeat. This was the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA. And the text itself couldn't be simpler or more straightforward. After Congress passed it in '72, pretty much everyone thought its ratification was a done deal. But then, a really organized, really powerful conservative movement rose up to stop it. Led by activists like Phyllis Schlafly, they completely changed the conversation, tapping into deep-seated fears about destroying the traditional family, unisex bathrooms, and women being drafted into the military. And you know what? It worked. The clock ran out in 1982. The Equal Rights Amendment failed. It was just 3 states short of becoming a part of the Constitution. So you have to ask, why? Why did it fail? Well, one really interesting theory is this idea called the dynamic of deafness. It suggests that the feminists, while passionate, were so caught up in their own arguments that they just weren't really hearing or effectively answering the genuine fears that were driving the other side. It's a huge lesson for any social movement. At the very same time, though, something else really important was happening. Powerful new voices within the movement were speaking up, arguing that you couldn't just talk about women as one monolithic group. This led to the absolutely crucial concept we now call intersectionality, the understanding that things like race, class, and gender aren't separate issues. They overlap and intersect. And all of this brings us right up to today, to the modern era, where the search for this treasure continues with brand new tools and, well, brand new challenges. What we now call the third and fourth waves have really been shaped by these huge cultural shockwaves. You've got the Anita Hill hearings in '91, which put sexual harassment on the national stage like never before. Then the internet completely changes the game with the #MeToo movement in 2017. But there have also been these stark reminders like the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade in 2022, showing that this revolution is far from finished. So let's go back to where we started. What is the lost treasure? It's all of this. It's the right to vote. It's having access to birth control and your own credit card. It's having laws that protect you from discrimination. It's even having the words to talk about injustice. It's the world so many of us now just see as normal. But here's the thing about this treasure. You have to guard it. The world we take for granted wasn't just handed to us, it was fought for, and it's not guaranteed to last forever. The work of finding it, protecting it, and adding to it never really stops. And so the final question isn't just about what's been found, but what comes next?